Hello and welcome to the McHugh and Buzz podcast. This is episode number 15. This episode is all about what 2022 and 2023 financial year has got for me and Gregor. So, Gregor, let's start this episode off with, can you give a bit of insight of what your goals and plans are for 2022? And we'll finish off the episode with what me and Gregor have got plans for us together as brothers.
I think this year for both of us is going to be quite interesting in a way for a financial point of view, potentially quite an expensive year, but in a way that makes sense to invest logically. So we're not like wasting money, we're actually investing money. I think that's where the expense comes in. So for my personal goals is actually to potentially buy a property, and that property would be in Edinburgh, ideally, and looking to invest in a property which is more like a doer-upper style, where it's a bit run down, it needs a bit of work done on it, and I can add value that way. The idea of that, Jim, is basically I want to increase the value of the property, so when it does get reevaluated like a year later or 2 years later, I can then increase like the loan to value ratio. So then that'll allow me to hopefully leave the property earlier, and I can basically switch it over to a buy to let property or mortgage,
Yeah.
and then rent it out and then buy a second property to live in, and either like repeat that cycle. So then it just keeps getting, that cycle just continues basically. Um, that's what I'm thinking initially anyway. But
Okay.
I, that's the main kind of goal at the moment. Got other things as well on the line that I'd like to discuss, but it'd be interesting to hear your headline kind of goals for the financial year.
So for 2022, I think sort of the similar situation, both looking to move, so currently based in Aberdeen, looking to move out of Aberdeen, come back down to the Central Belt and find a property where me and my girlfriend Rebecca can move into a property that suits us both for work purposes and obviously living, so we can be a bit near to home, but also have a bit more freedom. But the idea is the first property will be similar to Gregor, like doing somewhere where we can do up, so we can live in it, but slowly do it up a little bit from time to time. So then the value of the property becomes more, and then sell it on, obviously, a couple of years maybe down the line or a year later to then become either a rental or sell it on to take the profit from what we put into the property. So that's probably the first starting goal. So yeah, you said obviously that's not the only thing. So both main thing is property. We're looking to develop our sort of property skills and get into that sort of market, learn about becoming a landlord. There's so many things now that landlords are responsible for, which will be obviously a good challenge for us to overcome. But from that, you're obviously looking to do other investments and obviously plans for your financial year coming up. What's the sort of stuff are you looking to do? Are you looking to increase your income, or how are you going about that? And what's your sort of plans?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, throughout the podcast and kind of projects we've talked about, always wanted to start something, try and earn a little bit of extra cash. And ultimately, obviously, I'm trying to save to buy a property, and I understand spending a lot of money trying to start a side project doesn't necessarily need to spend a lot, but can show up negatively on um, effectively applying for a mortgage. You're, I guess, you might become, might show up as a high risk because you're spending a lot of money every month on random stuff when it's actually you're trying to earn some extra cash. So yeah, affordability there might be impacted, but I've actually maybe thought of a way to do it recently. Well, I say recently, but it's kind of just been spreadsheets and understanding of where my wealth is, or the money I have is. So effectively, I've got that Vanguard fund that we discussed a while back, Jimmy, and what
That
you
was
can
loud.
do. Sorry, it was my phone falling. The Vanguard fund that we discussed a while ago, and we advised people to give it a shot.
Yeah.
What I could do is basically take the top earnings off of that I have, and obviously that's money I've just earned by investing.
Yep.
Use that to reinvest in a kind of business idea, entrepreneurial or venture.
Yep.
Whereas I'm not, it's money I've just had in an account and it's earned me a return.
Yep.
And if it stays in there, I can earn a higher return. But at this moment in time, I'll be like, oh, maybe we can earn a higher return
So,
trying a startup business or a side project or
yeah.
something along those lines. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so narrow that down, basically looking to advance in sort of business idea to try and generate another income stream for yourself through taking some profits off Vanguard, which you've made in the last year or so.
Exactly, exactly that.
Perfect. I think that's perfectly sort of is perfectly good. I think for myself, I'm sort of in the same boat. I probably will take either some profits from that I've made over the last year or so from Vanguard or from my free trade account. But one of the things I think is also not being afraid to spend a little bit of money on trying different things out throughout the next coming year. I think both me and yourself, Greg, have probably very much been reluctant to spend not even like a large sum of money, under £1,000 on just trying something, and if it fails, not being like downhearted by it, but actually taking it as I've learned something. Okay, let's try and save another thousand so I can try something else.
Yeah,
Um, and a perfect example of that for me is I have already sort of got into it and are trying to get onto Amazon FBA, so basically becoming an Amazon seller and doing Facebook retail arbitrage, so basically buying products at a discount to resell them through Amazon. And it's something I'm just trying out. It's a whole lot of different fees and processes to get this set up. But I'll obviously discuss this a little bit more in other episodes, hopefully as it gets set up and I obviously start selling through the platform. But
what's made you dive into that?
perfect examples from our last couple of podcasts when we had Christoph on, who, if you've not listened to it, we had a guest on a couple of weeks back who gave us a great insight to obviously Facebook advertising and how it works and sort of FBA and setting that up. And I just thought it's something that I've always been keen. I've always thought, drop shipping. It's been like that sort of style of selling, basically something that you don't actually even have to touch, was a great way to sort of say get set up and make some extra money. But the drop shipping within UK, and because everything's produced in China, it's a little bit tougher to get stuff in. So I thought, let's do it a little bit easier. Try find something that's more local. So literally going to your local shops, finding something that's a really good deal, comparing it to what's on Amazon, what's selling at the moment, using a couple of busy websites to help analyze what's selling and what's doing well. And I've subscribed to a couple of memberships just to obviously get that. And it's one of these things where I'm a bit like, okay, I'm spending probably more money at the start than I'll make from selling the products I've currently bought. But the process that I'll learn and the things I will learn through doing this will be great, so because then I can figure out what else I can do, or will there be a better product out there that I can buy to then sell on again. So
Cool.
it's just a little bit trying and trial and error,
Sounds
basically.
good. Sounds good.
Uh,
Do you have a, well, I mean, that sounds like an interesting side project to get set up this year. Obviously, something you can keep going in the background. This doesn't require all your attention all the time, which is ideal. And, obviously you want to make it successful. I think you probably invest a lot of time in it
yeah,
as well at the moment. You talk about property as well for this year. Obviously, you're in Aberdeen at the moment, moving down to more central belt of Scotland, so maybe Glasgow, Edinburgh. Obviously, quite a big change there as well, an expense. How are you feeling about it this year financially? Are you quite positive? Are you, yeah? What's your thoughts?
I think my thoughts for this year kind of all over the place. I'm in a job that I currently am enjoying. It's actually not as bad as when I first started out. I was a bit unsure about it. I think the job's not exactly where I want to be in the long term. So I think the big thing for me is going to be finding the change to the industry that I want to go into, which will be what my degree is in, marketing. And I think that change with whatever financial impact that has, as it may mean going down a pay grade or maybe going up a pay grade. I don't know yet. With the way that industry is, you can very much go into any way. It just depends who takes you on and what jobs show up. I've had a look and seen what there is, and it's kind of like there's not too much of a difference, but to get started in it can be hard if you've not got any major experience. So I think financially, that's making me go like the reason I've stuck with what I have got now, because sales, it pays okay, and then you hit a good month, you get paid the bonus, and it's obviously makes it all worth the while. Um, and that's sort of I think for the coming months while I'm in this job is the goal is to try and hit target as much as possible in the next couple of months, really work my ass off to make as much money as possible so I can put money away So when it comes to these moving down and moving and getting into Glasgow and buying the first property, I've got that side money. I've got money sitting there that's ready to sort of be used for these situations that if I do need to spend a little bit more than I expect, I've got it there
Cool.
when I
Cool.
when I go into it. So I feel
Yeah.
okay. I also kind of want to move on to obviously me and you have talked about obviously the property, doing these sort of my moving, but obviously we've got our Vanguard, we've got free trade, we've got our sort of own personal investment stuff. How are you feeling about continuing that? So like my thought process for this coming year, I think it's going to be hard to continue that growth. I'm very much about dividends. The every year you get a £2,000 tax sort of relief from dividends, and I quite like the idea of compounding that and making sure that my dividend growth is continuous. Is that something you're looking into, Gregor, or where are you considering with your sort of personal investments?
Yeah, something I've thought about regarding continuing to invest in stocks and shares, and obviously Vanguard. For me, obviously, a big expense would be the property side once it happens, and ideally, the right property comes up, and I can sort it out this year, and ideally, maybe the back end of summer. It's just a case of viewing and staying aware of that. But I'm always gonna top up the investment fund for Vanguard. I think if I have extra cash at the end of the month, I'll use that to invest and try not let it build up in a bank account earning nothing.
Yeah,
Especially when inflation is through the roof at the moment. It's even hard to get a return in the stock market. So yeah, you're fighting all sides at the moment. And with
yeah,
with bills going up and expenses going up at the moment, it just feels like financially this year's like a big kick in the teeth to a
yeah,
lot of people. And yeah, I think everybody's feeling it. So I'm excited. I feel like sometimes you listen to news and hear all these bills and expenses going up, I feel a bit like disheartened by, things just get more expensive and it's like, oh, where's the other side? Where am I getting more money from for everything getting more expensive? And it's like, it doesn't happen like that.
yeah,
But the way to counteract it is like what we always say we plan on doing, but it's like just go and do it. Like be a bit more creative. Like you starting the FBA stuff,
yeah,
the arbitrage for Amazon with products. Give things like that a shot. Listen to our podcast with Christoph. He's doing entrepreneurial stuff, and I think he talks about it as well. Is that business is high risk, potentially higher reward. Um, and I think property has always been a goal because renting for so long um, already, property seems like it's the next logical step, but it's like saving for so long just to get there, and it's like, okay, what is the next step? What is the next exciting thing that happens? Because I feel like I don't know you're feeling it at the moment this year, but feels a bit same old week in week out. A week goes by and you're like, oh yeah, I'm just saving up for the next thing. What's exciting? What's making you excited, basically, financially, Jamie, for 2022?
as I don't know if there anything major. I think just the excitement is um taking the risks more. I think just like um not being afraid to spend that little bit of money on trying things such as the Facebook arbitrage, and also trying to stick with it. Um not just doing it once and leaving it. Me and you tried a while back to do the drop shipping. We sold one thing and I don't know why we stopped. I kind of, when I look back on like our drop shipping, what we tried and how little we put into it in terms of effort, and we got a sale, and then for some reason we just both stopped. It didn't continue, it didn't go on, and I was like, we actually got someone to buy the product from us through our website, spending very minimal amount of money, but we stopped. And it was like I felt like that sort of aspect of like taking it, once trying it once, it's not always going to work the best. But if me and you stuck at that, we probably could have a drop shipping website now that's ticking over.
Well, there was I think it was easy to say that because I remember at the time we got the first sale and that was a surprise. But the reason we stopped was Facebook ads weren't working post that sale. Like we really struggled. I think timing wise, I remember going on quite a few calls with you trying to set up the ads and stuff. There's some technical issues or something that I was having, and it was difficult to manage. The website wasn't looking too great. All these aspects, and it's easy to say like, oh, if we continued, we'd have a drop shipping site. Yeah, we could have, but we could easily have spent a lot of cash and not done anything. So yeah,
Yeah,
I would say it's trial and error, and it's yeah, like what skills do you bring to the table? And it's a bit like designing the website, doing all these sort of things. It's great and stuff, but it's just maintaining that and persevering with that.
yeah,
Like you could have easily just gone, oh Gregor, just put the details in my account, I'll continue. You know,
yeah, definitely. So, Gerald, thank you for giving us all the insight to what your plans are for 2022 and to 2023. Great ideas. I look forward to us discussing furthermore the properties and taking you guys along the route of what we're planning to do, letting you know when we've got the first one. I think it's going to be so exciting when we first get our first ones, like the first day when you come into this podcast and go, guys, I have some keys. It's my first one. It's going to be so exciting to get everyone sort of introduced to the podcast, obviously your property. And we get to share some photos as well, maybe on the YouTube channel of the property we bought and what the plans are with it. Maybe we'll do some like a wee video clips of the property we do have and the plans. But hope you guys have got any other ideas. If you guys have some things you're wanting to discuss with us or even share, please comment on our YouTube channel or our sort of feedback on Spotify. We'd really appreciate any sort of feedback you have for us, and we look forward to hearing from you. Next week's episode will be an interesting one. It is about one of the richest men in the world with a crazy plan that he's got for future. I think, Gregor, would you say, or crazy? I don't know how you describe it, but look forward to talking about that one as well, and hope you guys come along and listen. Thank you, and this is the McEwen Brothers podcast.